Hello, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome to another Smack Talk edition of the Arrowhead Kingdom CHIEFScast. I am here today to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, I did not slip and say San Diego for once. That's probably the first time in a while. But leading up to the draft, we want to get a feel for a few of the Chiefs' divisional opponents and also other opponents on the schedule. So coming in today is John Stacy, who, as long as I've known, is probably as big, if not a bigger Chargers fan than I'm a Chiefs fan. So I'm lucky to have John today. John, welcome.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Good to be here.
Sure thing. So, John, really what I'd like to do is get a beat of where you think the Chargers are right now. The draft coming up next week, free agency period is still, out there.
Yes.
I'd really like to know where you think the team is now and what needs you think they need to fill.
Yeah, it's been an interesting offseason for us. Going into the draft last year, we didn't have a quarterback. We kind of let Phillip Rivers just walk in free agency. Went into that draft kind of knowing we needed one because we had just added Tyrod Taylor. Well, he was already on the roster, but we needed the franchise QB. We drafted Herbert, and I think as pretty much anyone who watched the season could agree, it worked out about as well as I could have expected.
Yeah.
The team was only 7-9, but we won our last 4 games. Herbert looked, I haven't seen a rookie look that good in I can't remember how long. And it's hard to even fathom that he was just a rookie.
Yeah.
So it gave us Chargers fans a lot of excitement heading into the offseason. Kind of where we're at, though, we do have a new coach. We did get rid of Anthony Lynn in the offseason. Probably a good move. He had some real questionable game time decisions that probably cost us at least a couple of games last year. A lot of close ones. Had some double-digit leads that we blew. Again, not all his fault, but a move was probably needed to be made. So we added Brandon Staley, young guy. I don't even think he's 40 years old. Comes over from the Rams. So he's got that Sean McVay tie.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited about him. Interesting thing on defense is we are switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4.
Okay.
We don't necessarily have the personnel to play the 3-4. So it's going to be interesting to see how we really address that. We really haven't done a whole lot in the offseason to add a lot of talent. Not that we can't do that in the draft or still in free agency, but I've got to remind myself, Joey Bosa, okay, well, now he's going to be a 3-4 outside linebacker. He's never played that before.
Yeah.
Again, not saying he can't.
Yeah, I
but
don't
it's going to
remember
be
seeing him do that at
interesting to
Ohio
see.
State either. Yeah, I think they ran a
No,
4-3
that's the
there.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm confident in his skill set,
Yeah.
but you just never know when you're changing over the entire personnel like that. I'm worried about our defensive line in that perspective. No problem with Linval Joseph playing the nose, but those other 2 defensive end spots, I'm a little bit worried about. So that those are kind of my basic thoughts. With that being said, this offseason, we've really focused again on protecting Mr. Herbert. And I think right now we've only got 1 returning starter from last year. And I think that's probably a good thing. He was running for his life a lot last year and made some just amazing plays. But obviously he's going to be our franchise quarterback and we need to protect him. And they've done that. They've added a couple players. They took the Packers center, Corey Linsley, signed him to, I believe, the largest contract ever for a center.
I think he grades out as maybe the best center in football right now.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I don't remember the exact statistics, but our center play last year gave up, I believe, 33 pressures on Herbert. Linsley only gave up 4.
That's a lot for an interior lineman too.
It is,
the face of the quarterback,
It is. So I was excited to see that signing. That should solidify the interior. We also signed Matt Feeler from Pittsburgh to, I believe, a 3-year deal. He's going to start at left guard for us. He was kind of the rookie free agent guy who just grinded it out in Pittsburgh, ended up starting, got a nice contract with us. We're happy to have him. So yeah, the only guy we've got returning right now is Brian Bulaga, and he only played a few games last year for us at right tackle. So,
Right. Yeah.
um, so yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Our question marks heading into this draft. Um, Still need a left tackle. We let
Yeah.
our left tackle of last year, Sam Teeby, sign with the Colts. Not disappointed. He didn't do a great job for us. We just kind of let his contract expire, but we've got a hole there. So it's going to
Mhm.
be interesting to see what the Chargers do.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the draft. I actually, in terms of maybe where you think the Chargers are going to go in the first round. I mean, it sounds like they're probably going to take a tackle from this deep tackle class. Would you agree with that?
I would. That'd be the most likely spot, but I
Okay.
don't think it's a guarantee. Um, you know, I I've got my eye on Rashawn Slater.
Oh
That's
yeah.
kind of the guy
Yep.
I would love to see fall to us at number 13. That's where we select. I think it might be a stretch that he falls there
Yeah.
because there are some tackle needy teams, but I don't think it's necessarily out of the question. There's also a tackle, I think his name's Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech, who could be another option for us.
Yeah.
13 might be a little bit early to take him. So it'll be interesting to see if the Chargers either pivot up to try
Hmm.
and get a Sewell, Penny Sewell, or a Slater,
Hmm.
if they stay put, or if they move back even with it. If a Mac Jones or somebody falls and maybe a Chicago or New England wants
Yeah.
to trade up, I could see that being a possibility as well. And the other thing too is if they don't go tackle, the other position which I haven't mentioned, I could see them taking a cornerback. Believe it or
Okay.
not, we released Casey Hayward to save cap space, and he's kind of been our number one guy for the last handful of
Yeah.
years. So we kind of have a void there. If a Pat Surtain falls to us, do the Chargers pull the
Hmm.
trigger? I could see it and not be disappointed. To be
Hmm.
real honest with you, again, we'd still have a whole left tackle, but there's nothing saying we can't address that in the second or
Hmm.
third round, in which we have two picks in the third round. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. No, I've definitely heard Patrick Surtain's name in the top 10 talent, just given the fact
I
that the
have to.
needs of a lot of teams, that's kind of trumping probably the draft order. But yeah, I mean, I remember I haven't seen a whole lot of Alabama football, but I definitely watched him in the national championship game. I mean, that
Yep,
guy, Clemson has a lot of NFL talent at the wide receiver position.
they
He
do.
more than held his own. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, the T Higgins of the world, and
yep.
yeah, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think there's a few directions they could go, and I wouldn't be surprised in a lot of things.
Hmm.
We were kind of talking before. Penny Sewell, the top quote unquote tackle prospect in the draft. You got to remember he protected Justin Herbert when
Yep.
Herbert was at Oregon. How does Herbert feel about him? Um, is it worth making a move up if Sewell falls a little bit to get him
Right.
if it makes Herbert that comfortable? I can see it. There's a lot of different directions the Chargers could go, and it'll be interesting to see. I think.
Yeah, it seems like the spot that Sewell keeps getting projected to go is 4, but you look at the Falcons, and the Falcons want nothing to do with the number 4 pick. And not to say
Yeah,
that the Chargers will have to trade up to 4, but it's interesting to see if maybe, one of these teams that are either somehow brainwashed to think that Mac Jones or Trey Lance is their
mhm.
franchise quarterback, maybe that allows him to fall a little bit farther to where a trade up really isn't that you're not giving up too much.
And that's the thing I've heard. Yeah, Atlanta, they're kind of the real first wild card
Yeah.
that you don't know what position they're going to take. They seem fairly set at tackle. I've heard Kyle Pitt's name mentioned a lot
Hmm.
there, and
I have
then
too.
does it go to then it goes to Cincinnati at 5? Well, they've got Jonah Williams on the left. They signed Riley Reef on the right. Sewell doesn't necessarily seem like a good fit there.
They're probably looking at
And
Jamar
then
Chase or Devontae
yeah,
Smith.
so I
Yeah.
mean, you could see
Yeah.
a slight fall with him.
Hmm.
Does Detroit take him maybe at 7? Is it worth trading up to 7?
Hmm.
Maybe it is, in which case that also gets me excited too, because the other gentleman I mentioned, Rashawn Slater, that also means he's going to be falling down too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see that every draft, there's always these guys that fall.
Yeah.
And maybe it falls right in our lap. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think Thursday night's gonna be a really interesting draft to watch. I think there's gonna be a lot of movement.
I think so
Um,
too.
I think both on the quarterback run that's going on, because you got 5 quarterbacks that are probably gonna be drafted in the first round. But yeah, the
Easy.
tackles. I mean, I think Slater and Sewell are probably the top of the class, and after that, you've got a bunch of guys that are kinda mired together, still look to be, first round talents, maybe fringe second round talents. But
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many teams out there that need good, bookend tackles right now. So
there really are, and,
yeah,
and we're one of them. And
yep,
did maybe they just pulled the trigger? It seems like Darrisaw's kind of the quote unquote
hmm,
consensus third, but he is a step down from the other two.
yeah,
So maybe the charge, but maybe they're good just staying put where they're at. And again, he's a left tackle, and that
hmm,
is what we need. But I also emphasize, if Sertan falls, I'm okay with that pick.
hmm,
And again, if you've got another pick in the second round and 2 third rounds, there's time to address other needs
hmm,
if you like that cornerback as much as you do. And we've got a hole there. I mean, our current 2 guys right now. I mean, we re-signed Michael Davis. We've got Chris Harris. If you guys remember from Denver, he's been
oh
with
yeah,
us now. This will
well,
be his second year.
and
We've
KU,
got
yeah,
nothing behind it, so we're going to
yep,
have to address cornerback at some point. We're going to. I think they're going to do that in the first 2 rounds. That's kind of where
sure,
I see the Chargers going. Depending on value, I think it's going to be offensive tackle, cornerback,
hmm,
offensive tackle in those first 2 rounds. Is kind of what I'm seeing as a fan. That's what I'm looking at.
yeah, and those are two premium positions too. I mean, if you can
Mhm.
actually be, let's say, ahead of the curve economically in those positions, it can actually save you a lot of cap space. So,
Yeah, oh, no
I'll
doubt.
yeah. So no, I hear you. If Sertan definitely sounds like if he's there and you take him,
I
I
think so.
mean the money you save at trying to save a or trying to sign a free agent quarterback is huge.
It's a lot.
So yeah.
I mean, the Vikings, living here in Minneapolis, I mean, I
Hmm.
think they gave Patrick Peterson a 1 year, $10 million deal, and he's
Yeah,
a declining guy.
he is.
you know, so yeah, it's definitely a premium spot, but an important one,
Hmm.
in the league that we're in. So I get it.
Yep. Yep. No, I hear it. So how about free agency? Is there anybody out there right now in free agency you'd like to see the Chargers sign?
I don't really have my eye on anybody in particular. Um, I mean, we've kind of added our pieces. The one guy, I will say this, and you'll be able to relate to it as a Chiefs fan. I don't know his injury status, and you're nodding. Maybe you already know where I'm going with this,
I
but
think so.
I would not be opposed to an Eric Fisher signing.
Yeah.
Left tackle experience. That's what we need. As soon as they released him, I was texting a few of my friends. I'd kind of like to add him.
Hmm.
Um, again, I mean, I know he was hurt in the playoffs, so I'd be curious kind of where that stands.
Yeah, it's a
But
pretty unknown prognosis on when he can come back from his Achilles. But I will throw
yeah,
this out here. Over the last 2 years, when Eric Fisher has started for the Chiefs are 23-1. So there's something to that. I'm not saying Eric Fisher is Trent Williams, but he obviously is important enough that he makes a difference on the field.
he would definitely fill the void.
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to stay away from Trent Williams,
Yeah.
even though it was a need for us. I thought it was an overpay myself.
No, I
Um,
agree with that. Yeah.
I just given his age and everything else. And I'm not saying there was baggage with him necessarily, but it seemed like there could be some drama that just didn't seem like a fit I was really interested in
Yeah.
as a fan. But Eric Fisher, that interests me again, depending on injury and
Hmm.
again depending on I don't know what his salary demands might be. I think he's making like 12 million with the Chiefs, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. He signed a
Yeah,
second contract, and it was pretty. I wouldn't call it as big of a contract you typically give a left tackle, but it was still pretty substantial. But
big enough. Yeah,
yeah, no, I can't tell you how painful it was to have to for the Chiefs to cut him, and I was definitely in the camp of I understand, it's a business, but man, he definitely he was the de facto number one overall pick, mainly because that draft was ass.
I remember
But
that one. Yeah, yeah,
he and the whole Luke Jokel or Eric Fisher. Well, Eric Fisher
yeah.
kicked Luke Jokel's ass
And
on
that
that
was
one. Yeah,
he did. I think we took DJ Fluker in that same draft, if
yeah,
I'm remembering right.
and he was
And
pretty solid. But I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
but
was he? I think we took him like ninth overall.
sure,
Probably not worth that, but
no, no, no. No, I don't think, and Eric Fisher wasn't worth the number one overall pick,
sure,
but,
that's what that
relatively he
draft
was.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
So
remember that.
he
Yeah, I think like
definitely,
Chance Warmack was in that draft. There was,
yeah.
there was. I remember that well. Yeah,
Yep. No, he had a chip on his shoulder for the most of the time he was in Kansas City because I mean he was, always like, basically playing like, hey man, you're not playing like the number one overall pick, which you know
yeah,
what? He never was going to, but he's still, like I said, 23-1 in the last
yeah.
2 years. He's obviously doing something right. So I hope he gets
Is,
healthy and he
is at
signs
least a
with
piece
somebody. Oh yeah.
is at least a piece of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think wherever he goes, he can at least stabilize it. Again, health permitting,
Hmm.
but I think he's a stabilizing guy. I always kind of viewed him as the good but not great
Yeah,
type tackle, which that can get the job done too. So,
it can. It can.
I
It's
can,
there's proof that it can win you a Super Bowl. So
and he'll be one of those guys. And there's a few guys out there like that. That, they're going to sign after the draft, see who needs what.
yeah.
And, maybe the Chargers are one of those teams that comes calling. Again, the Minnesota Vikings up here, they could be another one, depending
Sure.
on they don't really have a left tackle either.
Yeah, they
So
lost Riley Reeves. So yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was interesting. You saw a lot of good veterans cut this offseason
Hmm.
due to that salary cap dropping.
Right. Yep.
I think that's why it's the Chargers in a way they really got lucky there with Philip Rivers being a free agent, and now we're not paying that quarterback, so we didn't
Yeah.
have that big drastic need to cut a lot of veterans, which we still did cut a couple, but it wasn't as desperate as some other teams, like the Saints and
Oh.
whatnot. So
No, yeah, I think again, if you're hitting in the draft on premium positions, your cap situation is going to be fantastic.
should be, should be,
So, and I definitely think the hit with Justin Herbert. I mean, I, the first game he played in, which was against the Chiefs, I obviously was kind
it
of
was.
like, I mean, literally, that guy was called in the last minute, and he
Yeah,
went out there and held his own. And
yeah, he
the
did.
thing, not that I watched him a whole lot, but still, that last game of the season, yes, he was playing Chiefs backups, but you know what
Yeah,
he did? He went out there and what they won by 3 scores,
yeah, it was.
like a team with a really good quarterback should do against a team that's just basically playing their bench players.
Yeah, yeah, I would
And
agree.
it doesn't really show up too much as far as impressiveness, but still, he did what a team with a good quarterback,
Should do.
potentially franchise quarterback should do. I mean,
Yeah,
he was going out there basically throwing darts out there to Mike Williams, and I mean that showed
yeah.
me a lot in that game, even though maybe the others didn't.
Yeah, I mean, then again, I still go back. The Chargers were 7-9.
Yep.
So they did, and again, we can talk coaching, we can talk a lot of different things. We can, the Chargers have been known to just blow games. I mean, that's sadly
Yeah.
been one of their MOs over the last 15 years. And it happened again last year. But kind of to your point, the encouraging part was they were 3-9. They finished 7-9.
Yep.
Seemed to start clicking a little bit. Kind of got the ball rolling towards the end. And you hope you can carry some of that momentum forward. I mean, it'll be Herbert with the year under his belt. I mean, he looked like the real deal. He had an arm
Hmm.
that I don't even recall seeing that kind of arm at Oregon. Not that I watched a lot of duck football, but
Yeah.
he can sling it. He can sling it.
At
So
one
we're
point
excited. I mean,
he was considered, I think, the best quarterback prospect in college football. It's just, he fell off due to, I think, statistics and, I can't
had
remember if
he
there was
had he
a
come out a
coaching
year
staff
before he
change, but yeah.
did, I remember him being kind of the projected number one, but he wanted to
Yep.
go back to Oregon for another year
Yep.
for whatever reason. And and his stock seemed to drop. And
Hmm.
but I tell you, yeah, I mean, and you look at some of the draft pundits and on Chargers Instagram, it was kind of funny. They had one of those Mel Kiper like guys saying, no, I think Herbert, I don't like him. He's either the fourth or fifth best quarterback in this draft. And then
Todd,
it had
Todd, Todd,
Herbert
Todd, Todd,
basically
Todd.
taking a baseball bat to the TV
Gosh,
and saying that. And
yeah,
it's like, well, yeah, good for you, man. You showed him.
yes, it's no, I, yeah, it's kind of bittersweet for me. Obviously, it's a division rival, but
Yeah,
to see a guy like that thrive,
yeah,
when you
yeah.
have,
Man, it could be
yeah,
him and Mahomes could be a real rivalry for the next
yeah,
decade
no, I think
plus.
so too.
I think that could be a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I hope there is something like that for Mahomes
yeah,
because I think that will only help Mahomes in a way.
fuels him.
Um, Definitely. I mean, you know, there's that whole, Brady Manning analogy and who's the
Yeah.
Manning to Mahomes, but it could be Herbert, it could be Allen, who knows, but Watson,
And
but
that could really keep Mahomes motivated because you
it
hear,
could.
and I'm not one of these guys yet, again, because we were 7-9, but you hear
Hmm.
some guys already out there saying he's just as good as Mahomes.
Hmm.
Look at what he's done. And some of the statistics can back that up when you look at how many
Hmm.
touchdowns he's thrown through X amount of games started. But, I kind of pull back the reins a little bit because let's be honest, Mahomes gone to the last two Super Bowls. We're still trying to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean Mahomes isn't hearing some of that. So that could be
Hmm.
some fuel for him. And it gives Herbert something to shoot for too. So
Yeah. No, I think those guys could definitely play off one another and motivate each other. So I
the
hope
other
so.
good thing for Herbert that I think he can do, as it's kind of embarrassingly known, as especially when the Chargers are playing in that soccer stadium. Not a lot of our fans there.
Yeah.
Don't know what it's going to be like in the new palace that the $5 billion,
Yeah,
whatever you call that thing. It looks gorgeous,
it
uh,
does.
but we haven't had fans there yet. Can Herbert you know, um, bring out the life in the Chargers fans? Certainly has the potential to. So I'm going to be
I
curious to see how that shakes out as well.
there might be a window right now because we'll see how Stafford does with the Rams, but
Yeah,
the Rams have definitely lost a bit of their shine in the
I
last
would
couple of
agree.
years. So yeah,
I would agree with that.
yeah,
Yeah, they've traded away a lot of draft capital.
yep.
It's hopefully they got it right. I thought Detroit did pretty well with that trade.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, I did too.
I I mean, Detroit always seems like they're rebuilding, but I thought, hey, I thought they handled themselves okay on this one.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so last thing I'm going to hit you up with here is um, a schedule prediction. If you were, and remember, it's 17 game schedule here.
Yeah,
I constantly have to remind myself of that. But if you were, let's say you think the Chargers are actually going to do what you think they're going to do in the draft,
yeah,
where do you think they're going to end up schedule wise, or sorry, record wise at the end of the
wise,
year
yeah.
right now?
I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to be predicting Super Bowls yet, but I am going to be sort of glasses half full. I think we can build on what we did last year. I'd be looking at like an 11-6 kind of record. I think that
Nice.
would be a good step for us. Do I think we're going to win the division? I'll be honest. No, not yet. Um, it's not to say they can't, but there's a lot of little nuances I think they still need to take care of. And it's kind of beyond, the points we talked about. I'm going to be
Hmm.
curious how they switch to this 3-4 defense. I think we need to really add a lot of depth on that defensive line. I don't want to address it right away in the draft, but
Hmm.
we've got to do it later. We need some bodies there. Um, Slot receiver is also still something that's kind of, yes, we have Keenan Allen. Yes, we have Mike Williams.
Hmm.
Jalen Guyton after that. I don't know. Tyron Johnson after that,
Hmm.
maybe. Um, some things we've got to take a look at. Jared Cook at tight end. I was not a huge fan of that signing. I'll give him a 1-year, $6 million deal.
Yeah.
Kind of a guy on the decline.
Yeah.
He's kind of a steady Eddie, but letting Hunter Henry go was kind of a blow there. But again, Hunter Henry is often injured, and I think that was the
Yeah.
reason for letting him go, and can respect that too. But I'm going to say kind of an 11-6 record, health permitting as well too. But assuming we address those couple big pieces, cornerback, tackle, D line draft, and kind of go from there. I think the future's bright. We haven't really talked much about their backfield, but Austin Eckler, good little player.
Yeah, he is.
One of the best pass catching backs you're going to see.
Which adds a lot of value in today's game.
He sure does, and I
Yep.
think he's going to be a favorite target of Herbert. He's kind of the safety valve, really, when he's out there. Not your every down back, but doesn't need to be.
No, but yeah, in today's game, why do you need one? I mean,
You really don't. Not in today's game. Nope. So 11-6 is where I'm going to go. I think we finished second in the division. Good shot at the playoffs. I think it'd be a good step. Like I said, we've addressed some needs in the offensive line. I'd like to see them go a little bit further the rest of the way. But if we do that, we're in good shape, and you kind of just let the chips fall where they may, I suppose.
All right. Yeah, good stuff.
How about you? What do you think about them?
About the Chargers?
Yeah.
I'm about the same place. I think a 10, 11 wins for them is right about where I think they're going to be. I think the head coaching change is probably going to gain you a couple wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which should put you in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean the whole 4-3 to 3-4 transition, that's interesting because I don't even know if there's really a 3-4 defense really, because when the Chiefs were actually doing it, the last, I think 2017, 2018, more often than not, they were playing 2 down linemen and 2 outside linebackers as a down 4. So, it depends on the matchup. You may not actually see that base defense a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's just really a lot more, I think, on the technique of your inside guys, whether they're just there to basically fill bodies or if they're there to try and get to the quarterback. And I think that's the biggest difference that you're going to see.
And that's kind of been, the D line is, they're usually there to kind of take up bodies.
Yeah.
A lot of
free up
times.
the linebackers. Yep.
Yeah. And you need that big nose tackle has always been a big key. And I guess that is one thing with Linval Joseph. I do like him in that spot. You need that big. Because we played it 3-4 years ago, and Schottenheimer was our coach. And I tell you, I loved Jamal Williams when he was there. Just a beast. Just a beast. Loved him. So it'll be interesting. And I mean, you see, and even the Rams, and this is where, again, where Staley came from, they did kind of 3-4 base, but they were a hybrid. So it will be interesting when training camp starts to see kind of what the Chargers are doing formation wise. Could be an adjustment, but I do like the creativity that a lot of those 3-4 bases can offer. So
it also allows you probably a lot more zone blitzing. If you got outside backers as opposed to defensive ends. I mean, there's definitely a lot different scheme with the personnel you have. It might look the same, but it's just it's going to be different for sure.
And we'll be key. Like I said, we've got some holes to fill there depth wise, so we'll kind of see what direction they go. Whether it's more of the traditional defensive end / 3-4 outside backer, or if they go kind of for that defensive tackle. We've kind of got holes on both depth wise, especially. So it'll be interesting. We'll find out in a week here kind of what they do. So.
Yeah, we will. Less than a week. Gosh. All right. Okay, John. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for right now. Hopefully, I'd love to have you on again. We definitely plan on touching base with different teams and their fans, especially as we get closer to the season, and just get a temperature of where things are. And then just for anybody who happens to be watching, the real reason why the Smack Talk label is on this is because, when we get into the regular season, we're actually going to be taping this the week before a matchup. So that's when things will probably get a lot more interesting. But for right now, we definitely want to at least get out there and get familiar with, just feeling, just get a temperature of where, the Chiefs opponents are going to be this year. And like we discussed here, just to kind of get a mutual respect going into this. So, all right. Well, thank you all for watching for the Arrowhead Kingdom Chiefs podcast, and please catch us on YouTube. Thanks.